Good morning. It's winter time. It's mid-February, and I had a great discussion this week with a couple who are moving to Snowflake, Arizona, and they want to set up a farm, and they're hoping to buy a piece of land anywhere from like 30 to 300 acres. They're going to go there. They're going to try to get a piece of land and develop it into a beautiful food-producing system. They want hay, horses, cattle, sheep. Maybe they don't want sheep, but they want a really good system of agriculture. They want to have a greenhouse or two, and they want to have gardens, and really they want to become pretty much food self-sufficient. They didn't say that, but the questions they were asking me makes me think that's really what they're after, which is exciting. And so I talked to them for about an hour, and they had one question that was very interesting to me, and I've got this question a lot, and I thought I would address it here today because there's not really an answer that I can give you. This is something that you have to answer, but people keep asking me. So the question they said was, how big of a greenhouse, either a high tunnel or a wallapini or any configuration of a greenhouse, how big does it need to be to feed? And they said around 30 people. I think that's what they said. Well, let's just say, how big of a greenhouse do you need to feed your family? Maybe your community, maybe some extended family. Those are the kinds of questions I get. How much square footage does it take to feed me? I'm a single person. I want to grow my own food. I hear that one. How big of a greenhouse should I build if I want to have a farmer's market and I'm guessing to have 50 people in my customer base? I can't answer that question because there are so many crops you could grow. Your family, friends, customers could be purchasing so many different kinds of things from you, or you're giving it to them, maybe you don't sell it to your family members. Let me just go into this a little bit so you can understand what I'm saying. If you built a greenhouse that's 30 feet wide by 96 feet long, which is a standard high tunnel size, yeah, you could easily feed 30 people out of that greenhouse, but how much of their diet are you going to feed them? Are you going to be feeding them all of their salads throughout the year? Sure, you could. Are you in a climate where it gets over 100 degrees for a lot of the summer? Well, you're going to struggle with salads in the summer, even if you have shade cloths and fans and all the things that you could start adding to a greenhouse or a high tunnel or a wallapini to create that environment. You're still going to struggle with having really good quality flavoring lettuce in the summertime in hot weather. That's just the way it is. I have friends who are farmers in Overton, Nevada, and they basically shut their farm down in the summertime. Most people in North America shut it down in the wintertime. Well, they shut down in the summertime because it gets so hot. It's not uncommon to be at 115 degrees on a lot of days there, and that is too hot for most plants to grow. Even your hot weather crops like tomatoes and peppers, they don't like it that hot. It's just too hot for just about everything. So how big of a greenhouse should you build? You're going to have to figure that out on your own. How hungry are you? How much food are you actually eating from what you're growing? How much food are you eating from the grocery store and other sources of food coming in? If you truly wanted to be 99% self-sufficient, meaning you're going to buy salt and a few other things like that, and you're going to grow the bulk of your own fruits, vegetables, milk, meat, eggs on your own farm, how big of a greenhouse do you need? If you are eating mostly fruiting crops and that's what you want to grow, that's a different story, and it takes much longer than if you're eating crops that you're harvesting like 6-7 times a month. So what crop do you harvest 6 or 7 times a month? Things like spinach, lettuce, those are very fast growing crops. They grow quickly. You can cut those off, have them regrow really fast because you don't pull out the roots, you don't start with new seeds, you're not starting over for sometimes 5 to 8 crops. Maybe more in the winter, less in the summer in hot weather. Sometimes lettuce will go very bitter after 3 harvests if it's hot weather in the summer, and then you have to start with new plants to get good quality. In the wintertime, it's possible for some varieties and some climates to get as many as 12 cuttings of lettuce in the middle of the winter. Now it takes longer between growing depending on how far north you are and how much light you get, But see all the things that are coming into this? That's why I can't answer the question. I can't just say, yeah, for every one person you're feeding, you need X amount of square feet. Because what if you're talking about tomatoes, strawberries, peppers, eggplants, and those are the main things you're going to grow. Those are fruiting crops that take a lot more time, and you're going to need a much larger space to grow those. If you're in high elevations with very short growing season, let's say you have an 80-day growing season between frosts of the year, you probably do need a greenhouse and a high tunnel to grow any of the fruiting crops, because they'll just start fruiting and then they're wiped out by frost. As I was talking to this couple who were going to Snowflake, they also asked me, how important is it to actually have a greenhouse? Can we just have a big outside garden? And here again, it depends on the piece of land they get. If they're nestled up in the foothills and they're at a higher elevation and they're getting a lot of snow in the winter, then it's going to take longer for the soil temperatures to warm up in the springtime than if they're way down in a valley. I mean, 5 miles can mean a lot in the western United States, depending on elevation and how far away you are and from certain things like mountains, rivers. There's things that will change your microclimate, and so you have to take all of this into consideration. So I say yes, every backyard farmer who's serious about their own food production should have some kind of a greenhouse, because the greenhouse will make your growing season much longer. Most people in North America can grow 12 months a year if you have a really good greenhouse. Now, you're not going to be growing the warm weather crops in the winter, and you probably won't be growing the cold weather crops in the summer. But what you will have is being able to create a climate where the plants will grow really lush and beautiful in the time of year when they normally grow. So the cool weather crops will grow really good in the cool weather. In the spring and fall, they'll be doing great. And you can overwinter them from a beautiful fall garden, and you can keep harvesting them throughout the winter. That's one of the great things we have learned from Elliot Coleman, is that you can grow all those crops, get them big, because he's far north, man. He's way up there in Maine, and he'll get 3 feet of snow, and he's worried about his greenhouse getting smashed and all that stuff. And nobody would ever dream of having fresh vegetables in February, but he does, because he plants them in the late summer and gets the plants big, and then he uses the greenhouses to overwinter. So that is one of the great benefits that people can have throughout all of North America, probably the world, but I'm not an expert on anywhere else, so I don't know. Hopefully that answers some questions about greenhouses. And let me just go through the keys again on any type of a structure, whether it's a high tunnel, a greenhouse, a wallapini, whatever it is. You can extend your growing seasons. You can grow a lot of food. You can always grow more food if it's a cut and come again crop, like lettuce and spinach, than if you have a fruiting crop, like tomatoes. So those are some of the keys to remember. Another thing to remember is you're going to treat the plants differently at different times of year. In the wintertime, you want to water less than you do in the summertime. Thank you very much. I hope this helped.